Hey, everybody. It is Saturday, December 28th. I'm Elena Barbera. Thanks for joining me. What were you talking about today? The internet is ablaze. Conservatives are tearing each other apart over their stands on HB1 visas, which talk about foreign workers coming to America and taking our jobs. The hot button issue is in the tech industry when we're talking about coding, software developers, engineers of that computer sort. Something I will never have to worry about because it's not my jam. But it does affect Americans, and people are saying that the HB1 visa should be completely done away with, and all jobs should be given to Americans, period. Others are saying we need the HB1 visa because Americans either there aren't enough of us to do those jobs, or some of the talent that we're bringing in is better than the talent that we have here. There's a lot more nuance to it. We're going to get into it. One of the things, though, that I got to say, I have seen some really appalling behaviors. Apparently, in the tech sector, the way these HB1 visas are used, they're largely used to bring in people from India who are willing to do these jobs. And I have seen so much hate and crapping on Indian people. Now, that I'm just kind of grossed out by that. Like, if you want to be America first, that's fine, but you don't have to crap on Indians in order to do that. It's like a feminist who wants to be great, but she has to crap on men in order to do that, right? She's not great if she has to crap on somebody else. Now, granted, I don't know a lot about many Indian people or a lot about Indian culture. I have worked in the professional sphere with Indians. I have been to plenty of stores owned by Indians. I mean, the stereotype exists for a reason that they run 7-Elevens, and they've never been anything but nice to me. I have never had a problem with anybody. But I admit I have limited experience. That still doesn't give anyone the right to crap all over these people. And I just found it to be really off-putting, and it kind of makes all your other arguments, stand under a shadow of gloom when you do that. So let's try to back up. If anybody's listening and you're over here like railing on any particular ethnic group of people, like back it up and behave yourself. Be an adult. Anyway, some of the problems with the HB1 visa is that there are too many people using it. These are the complaints, that when people are brought in on HB1 visas, that they are given lower salaries than Americans would demand for the same job. So they drive the salaries down in the market. Understandable. They're saying that some Americans with engineering degrees can't get jobs because these jobs are filled by people who take the low salaries, and there are not enough jobs available. I don't know how much of all of this is true. Just like I don't know how much all of this hate against Indians is warranted. So those are the people, those complaints are all coming from the people who say we should get rid of it. But they are missing a big part of the picture. We may have enough engineers in this country right now, but our education system is in such disrepair. We're graduating kids who can barely read at a 6th grade level. We are not refilling the pipeline of innovators, engineers, doctors, lawyers, anywhere near fast enough. We're going to need foreign talent if we want to stay competitive on the world stage. And that need is already presenting itself. Look at the college kids that are graduating. You can't look at them the wrong way. They fall apart into tears. These aren't innovators. Vivek Ramaswamy poured gasoline on this issue when he sent out this tweet. It's very long. I'm just going to read you some highlights, and it's pretty incredible, quite frankly. Let me read it first. Vivek says, the top reason tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over Native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit. A key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. Tough questions demand tough answers. And if we're really serious about fixing the problem, we have to confront the truth. Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s and longer. He is so right about this. People are losing their ever-loving minds and saying, America is great, America is perfect. Like, the whole reason we voted Donald Trump in is because America is in the toilet and we want to make America great again. Let's not be in denial. all of a sudden and say, no, we're perfect. Yeah, like a man in a dress who says he's a woman, you are out to lunch if you think America is perfect right now. The reason that people like us want to make America great again is because we love the country and we've seen it fall. Okay, he says, back to Vivek. That doesn't start in college. It starts young, a culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers, a culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World or Zach and Slater over Screech in Saved by the Bell or will not produce the best engineers. He says what we need is more math tutoring, fewer sleepovers, more weekend science competitions, fewer Saturday morning cartoons, more books, less TV, more creating, less chilling, more extracurriculars, less hanging out at the mall. And he's saying that those things have all become what we want to have, what we call normalcy. And he says normalcy doesn't cut it in a hyper-competitive global market for technical talent. And if we pretend like it does, which we are doing, we'll have our asses handed to us by China. This can be our Sputnik moment. We've awakened from slumber before, and we can do it again. Culture that once again prioritizes achievement over normalcy, excellence over mediocrity, nerdiness over conformity, hard work over laziness. That's the work we have cut out for us. And he's absolutely true. And people are so offended by this because they don't want to acknowledge the fact that we have become a nation of people who insist on being comfortable at all times. Can't say words that are going to hurt somebody's feelings. But go look at how people are dressed outside. People are going to the store and living their lives in their pajamas because it's comfortable. Why shouldn't I just be comfortable? No matter what feeling you have, no matter what carnal desire you have to act on it immediately. You can't even wait for anything. He is absolutely right. Young people, I see it all the time. They're supposed to get out of work at 5 o'clock. They got their bag on their shoulder and they're out the door. Going the extra mile has become more and more and more rare. Nobody wants to do it. Everybody just wants to be comfortable. Work-life balance is what we need. And that's fine. You want that? Have at it. You want to run around in your pajamas? Have at it. But don't complain when other people take your job because they're willing to go the extra mile, because they don't mind. They're comfortable being uncomfortable. And this is what we're seeing. People are freaking out when he said this, and he is absolutely right. We have become, you got college kids. When they get a B, their mummies and daddies call the professor. Are you kidding me? These are not leaders. These are not innovators. They're emotional wrecks who aren't even going to be able to have the wherewithal 10 years from now to zip up their McDonald's uniform. Never mind, get us to the moon again. Are you kidding me? We have to be honest. Look, this guy that I'm about to show you, he is far more common than we would like to admit.
Single one of your basic needs should be taxpayer funded. Food, water, healthcare, shelter, clothing, electricity, transit, access to the internet. These are all basic needs that we require to survive within this society, and as such, it is society's responsibility to ensure that those are provided to its people.
He wants everything for free. He wants everything. Who is providing this to you if only the top, tiny percentage of people have the entire weight of the nation on their backs? Where's all this money coming from for your housing and your healthcare and your food and your electricity and your internet so that you can stand in front of the mirror and take a video of yourself with your nail polish on? Who's going to pay for your nail polish, sissy? It's absolutely ridiculous. And people are in denial that this is a lot of young people and this is how they think. We're in a lot of trouble, America, and I'm not going to pretend that we're not. I'm with Vivek. We need these visas until we are so great that to hire an outsider to come in and help this country would seem unthinkable. I want America to be so great that it becomes unthinkable to bring in an outsider for anything. We don't need you. Thanks for applying, but we have all the brilliance right here because we're teaching children how to think. Right now, less than 40% of kids are reading at grade level across the country. That's a national stat of all schools, public and private. I mean, 60% aren't. The math scores are terrible. It's all about these poor curriculums that just make millions of dollars for, elected officials' friends. It's about woke indoctrination and social emotional learning models, which just focus on feelings. How do you feel about everything? How do you feel? Climate change, social justice. That's what they're teaching kids. No one's going to be an engineer. All right. So keep it real. Like I said, you might have enough engineers right now, but in another few years, 10, 20 years, that pipeline is going to be dry if we don't change everything. Everything. So I'm kind of on Team Vivek with this. He suggests that we reform HB1 because another problem with it is right now it's a lottery system. So anybody can, apply to it. And supposedly it's a lottery system. I'm sure there's some favoritism and favors that are pulled because nothing is without corruption in this country. But it becomes a new system where we're only taking the best of the best. So why wouldn't we take the best talent from around the world and use them on our team so that we can win, so that we can be the best country in the world again? It only makes sense. If you were a sports team, you would take the best players from all over the place. You wouldn't just take who's in your 100-mile radius. You're going to take the guy from across the country or even across the world to come in and play for your team so you can win championships. It's not that hard. And if we're going to become less and less competitive in this space because we refuse to acknowledge that socially and educationally we have serious deficits, we deserve everything we get then. If we just ignore the problems and pretend they're not there. Here's what Vivek said about this.
Imagine an immigration system that selects for the smartest people to come to the U.S. You could imagine an immigration system that selects for the ones who are going to work the hardest. You could imagine an immigration system that selects for those who love the United States or know the most about the United States or speak the best English. You could imagine any of those, and we could have a debate. Which of those is the right immigration system to have? Turns out none of those is the quality that our current immigration system rewards.
So that was him talking in general about immigration and about HB1 visa workers. For all those things, for workers and people who want to actually emigrate and live here permanently. Wouldn't it be cool if we had some standards instead of just opening the floodgates like we did here? We have a lot of work to do, and everyone infighting over this, being mean to Indian people, denying the reality of the problems that we have and the fact that we need outside help. We're not going to get anywhere with that. Everybody needs to take it down a notch. All right, let's talk about something worse. So Senator Rand Paul, he came out with his 10th annual Festivus report, which is a whole, list of how our federal government is wasting our tax dollars. Americans pay more taxes than we have ever paid before, paying between 40 and 50% usually for between state and local taxes on their income. And then everything you buy is taxed. If you buy property or a house, you're paying property tax in perpetuity. You can't do anything. Then when you die, your money gets taxed again. I mean, you can't go fishing without buying a permit, which is just another tax. Are you having fun yet? And then they take all this money, and if it was working for our good, it would be one thing, but it's not. Here's what he says. Our national debt is $36.2 trillion. So that if you break it down by person, every single one of us in this country owes $107,000. So whatever your mortgage is, whatever your credit cards and your student loans are, tack on $107,000 to that. That's what you owe. Comes about to about $275,000 per household. Most Americans don't even have $1,000 in savings in the bank because they can't afford to live in this hyper inflationary environment. But we are all over $100,000 in national debt. But that's fine. That's fine because we're doing super, super important things. This year alone, we've spent $1 billion. $1 billion, silly me. 1 trillion, 8 billion, 300 million, 300,600 and change on super important things. Like $10 billion on empty government buildings. So they're keeping them, with lit up with electricity, keeping them clean, furnishing them in many cases. Empty buildings, $10 billion. Did you agree to that? Did you agree to that? Now, it kind of makes me go back to my point from another day where I was saying we have one of the most prolific, successful real estate developers in the country who's going to be sitting in the Oval Office. If we have all these empty office buildings, let's do something with them. Let's have them generate revenue for the federal government and beat down some of this debt, maybe. Wow. The nation of Paraguay apparently was having some trouble with their border. So we sent them $2.1 million to work on some border security. We don't work on our border security, though, because that doesn't matter, because borders are racist when they're around America. But Paraguay and Ukraine, we gotta protect their borders. You got that straight? Okay. $20 million we spent to teach people how to use fertilizer in Pakistan, Vietnam, Colombia, and Brazil. That I'm glad you go to work every day. It's very nice of you. And then you give your money to the government. And thank God in Pakistan, now somebody knows how to use fertilizer because their country couldn't figure that out. There were tens of millions of dollars in this report on animal testing, like the cruelest, meanest. I could not believe what I read. I will not even repeat. You can read the Festivus report from this year and prior years yourself. Just Google it. You can find it. I'm horrified by the things I saw. On a lighter note, $12 million on a pickleball complex in Las Vegas. You should go because you paid for it. Oh, $2 million to research how social media ads about food affect children. So if there's a cookie ad, does the ad make the kid want a cookie? Does the ad make the kid not want a cookie? Or does the ad make the kid indifferent to cookies? $2 million. $2 million of your dollars. This was a good one. Over $400,000 to find out in this study if lonely rats seek out a cocaine fix more than happy rats. So they take rats and they put them all together and they're all socialized and they have toys and all kinds of nice foods and things like that. And then they separate them. And some of them get to keep, and they give them all cocaine and they're all like, yeah, jacked up, yay. And then they separate them and some of them get to keep the toys and the socialization. And some of them are now put in a cage by themselves, no toys, no nothing. And of course, the lonely ones who are deprived of social interaction and something to do, they seek out the cocaine more. But we spent $419,000 to find that out. And I hate rats. I don't want a single one of them alive, but I don't like them being tortured and either. Like I'm all for killing them. Just make it quick. We don't have to be cruel to animals to find out that sad animals are going to try to do something to make themselves less sad. Disgusting. That's our government. This is our freaking government and the money they're spending. We also dropped, we've sent like $175 billion to Ukraine for the war, but that wasn't enough because we had to drop another 5 million so that they could have a team of influencers in Ukraine who spread information and facts to Ukrainians about the war. $5 million on a propaganda team in the Ukraine. Your dollars. There was some other stuff from prior years. I got to show you. 2.8 million to see how we can make bugs into food, because that's what they're going to try to do to us in the future, by the way. 8.6 billion. I don't even know how this is possible to spend this much money on this. 8.6 billion on counter narcotics efforts in Afghanistan. We have fentanyl pouring. That was 2020. Fentanyl pouring over the border here. Americans dying in record numbers of drug overdoses, and $8.6 billion to counter narcotic efforts in Afghanistan. $37 million in 2020 was spent studying truant youth, kids that are skipping school. $37 million. Oh, did you think that was here in the US to try to help children to stay in school? No. That was Filipino kids in the Philippines. 2023, $6 million to boost tourism in Egypt. American small businesses are closing left and right, but God forbid we should boost tourism here in the you do something to make it easier for people to travel here in the US and support those small businesses. No. Let's send a bunch of money and make sure that people go see the pyramids. So this Festivus report is really interesting. It's annual. It shouldn't get to this. We should never get to the point where we're seeing a Festivus report. I would like this report to come back empty next year. There was no waste. If Doge does its job, this report will be obsolete. Whatever. I'm so mad. I can't even talk sometimes. Wow. So while we're wasting money all over the country, all over the world, we're still having some real problems here in America. This is Sebastian Zepeda. He's from Guatemala. An illegal alien in New York. This is the young man who decided to set a woman on fire on the F train in Brooklyn, New York, on Sunday, December 22nd. Apparently, the train was pulling into the station. He just casually approached her, set her on fire, and she went up in flames. Her clothing went up in flames. She was asleep, apparently. I don't know how clothing can go up in flames quite that quickly. Unless people just stood and watched. It's not really clear. Did he use an accelerant? Also not clear. Nobody has said who this woman is yet. They've indicated that she might be homeless, and they're trying to locate family members. They've had some success with identifying her, but they haven't publicized her name yet. The whole thing is so sketch and so horrible and creepy. And, the video being shared was so hard to watch. If you haven't seen it, spare yourself. You do not need to see a woman being set on fire. But this guy, it wasn't his first rodeo in America. He got here in 2018 during the Trump administration. He was promptly deported, thrown back out. And then at some point, we're not sure, he made his way back in and back into America, all the way up to New York. Nobody knows how long he's been in New York, or if I'm sure they know by now, but they're not saying. The indictment was filed this week, a couple days ago, and I think it's January 7th that the indictment is going to be unsealed. And so maybe by then we'll have more information on how this happened. But this look that you see on this guy's face in every single picture, he's just got that look. It's just this mean, psychopathic look of somebody that has no soul behind their eyes. This is complete demonic possession, insanity. I don't know what else to call it. It's just really, really sad. So ICE went to the New York Department of, the immigration. ICE went to the New York Department of Corrections, and they filed a detainer for him because they want to take custody of him. And New York said, no, it's against our policy to hand over the immigrants. So, why won't they hand this guy over? Do they just want to make sure they can prosecute him themselves, or are they playing sanctuary games? I'm not really sure. I couldn't really find out what's up with that. But the mayor did ask both ICE and the NYPD to do research and figure out what federal charges can be thrown at this man. So maybe they just don't want to release him until they know that he can be properly punished by the federal government. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm afraid that if he gets deported, he will never be punished for this crime. And, on the other hand, like, we need to pay for him for the rest of eternity here in the United States. But quite frankly, I would rather he just stay here and stay in jail forever, because I don't want to send this lunatic back out onto the streets of any nation to set anybody else on fire. And it's a sacrifice I'm willing to pay for to protect the world from this maniac. Sick. What a sick, sick world we're living. On the day that he set this girl on fire, this young man named Jimmy Chang, he is a realtor in Georgia. He was killed by a drunk illegal alien doing 100 miles an hour who went through a red light, T-boned Jimmy's car. And this guy's in his 30s. Apparently, he's very successful, beloved in his community. And he's another on the list of collateral damage in Joe and Kamala Harris's war on America with this border invasion. This one was from a 20-year-old drunk from Honduras. I forgot this part. He had been arrested in June of 2021 by Border Patrol in Texas, and he was released into the country. Had he just been sent back to where he came from, Jimmy Chang might still be alive. He certainly wouldn't have died this way. But apparently it was Jimmy's time, right? And we're just supposed to accept this as part of our compassion for these wonderful people that we're bringing in over into our country. I cannot wait for the big roundup. And I know they're going to start with the criminals. I want everybody who came in during Joe Biden's illegal invasion out of this country. And I want to use what we were talking about with Vivek. Start raising standards. We want the best of the best from the rest of the country, and everybody else can go scratch. I'm done. I'm sorry. Stay where you are. Make your own country better. Don't tell me that they're going to come here and make our country better. If they could make things better, they would make things better at home, wouldn't they? This guy should be alive. It's a freaking shame. Disgrace. Another Jonathan Salazar Garcia, an illegal from Mexico, was driving a truck, and there was this American named Elijah Heaps. He was a young man. I saw a picture of him. He looks like he was in his 20s. He was a musician. Garcia's driving a truck, apparently unlicensed. He decides to take a left. Elijah was on his motorcycle, and he killed the kid on the motorcycle, and then took off after he killed the kid on the motorcycle and didn't even stop to stay and help. So it was a hit and run. Hell on wheels. We have very mixed immigration problems. I stand by what I have said all along. Illegal immigrants have to get tossed back over the wall. I don't care. Send them home. Put them on planes, trains, automobiles, boats, get them out of here. I also stand by saying I am all for legal immigration. I don't mind people coming here to work if we truly need them, which the way I see it, if we don't really need them right now, we are going to need them soon, because we're going to, this generation who's coming out of school, say from ages 10 to 20, they're all just, there's so many, too many of them are lost. And the ones that aren't lost to terrible education, they can't carry the whole nation on their backs. So we're going to need help, and we're going to need good, high quality, genius innovators. Those are the people that we want while we clean up our own mess here. And we can taper it off eventually if you really want to. But I don't have problems with immigrants. And I'm very ashamed of all the conservatives who are saying no more immigration, period. Like, that's not what we've been saying all along. That's not what we agreed to. And I'm not going to turn into a racist psychopath who just hates 1.3 billion people in India because it's fashionable to do so. Like, we're not doing that. Sorry. Anyway, our government is terrible. And let's hope that come January 20th, we can really, truly make America great again. All right, guys. Have a great, Yeah, this is my last PPN show of the year. So have a happy new year. And this year, what's left of it, and next year, make sure you watch the other Patriots Prayer Network shows. We've got, who do we got? We got Alexandra Levine on Alexandra 360, Damon Galdo, the Jersey Shore. We've got Cowboys and Indians with Maurice, the Native Patriot. We've got the Patriots Prayer Podcast. We've got, I've got Two Guys, One Coup. There are so many shows. I'm sorry if I'm not naming all of them, but check out the Patriots Prayer on Network on Rumble and check out all the shows. We've got some regular people like me who are just fed up and coming out, speaking up, and trying to spread the truth. Find your favorites there. And all right, guys, God bless you and God bless America.